There's only one thing on this earth more powerful than evil, and that's us.
Hi guys, this is Claire Kramer, aka the Great Glorificus, and you are listening to the Buffy Back Issue Bed.
Welcome to the Buffy Back Issue, the show go through all the Buffy and Angel comics that are canon chronologically. I'm Zach.
And I'm Emily.
And we are on week 4 of our Serenity coverage while we wait patiently for season 12 to end.
So we're not talking about Buffy at all, just as a side note. Confusing name.
It's got to be close. We got to be close to number 2 at this point.
This is the week it comes out.
Okay, cool.
Maybe.
Who the hell knows?
I don't know.
I'm not doing math.
It's more like looking at a calendar, but yeah. Neither of which we're going to do, so...
So, as we've been doing for all these books, trying to go through them chronologically, it's week 4, and coincidentally, we're on book 4, which is strange for this program.
Yeah, no, we're excited because it actually works.
Kind
and
of.
I only had to read one book this time, not like pieces of 7.
Yeah, but, instead of cracking open book 4 and starting right at the beginning, crack open book 4, go past all of the cover gallery, and go to a short story at the end, because that happens first.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you warned me about it, because I would never have found it.
Yeah, it's like way tucked in the back.
And it's also really short, so it really is tucked in the back. It's not just like, oh, wait, what's this big chunk of pages?
So our first short story is by Zach Whedon with art by Fabio Moon, titled It's Never Easy. If memory serves, this was part of a free comic book day issue. I'm not going to look it up to confirm, but I'm going to say I'm right 96% sure I'm right.
That would make so much sense, though. Because it is oddly short.
Yeah, a lot of the ones that Dark Horse put out are like, half this, half that.
As you would.
Why give away a whole thing for free when you can just give half a thing away for free?
I can totally understand why they do that.
Unless you're a comic shop owner, and then it's not free.
No. Well, it's not free for Dark Horse either.
Boo-hoo. So the reason we know It's Never Easy starts, right after our last story and before our next one is Zoe's still pregnant.
Yes.
Which seems like an inconvenient thing if you're a space pirate, cowboy.
Either one, really, it seems inconvenient for. But yes, I totally agree.
Mal sasses Zoe a little bit. He's like, hey, you shouldn't go on this job. You're pregnant. She's like, to hell with you. You stay behind. I'm doing the job.
And so she does.
Yeah, so they all leave on the mule. Mal's left by himself, and a man on a horse rides up, asking if Serenity's for sale. He's like, I'll pay you. And Mal's like, no. He's like, can I get a ride? Then Mal's like, sure, we're wanted fugitives. Hop on board. And
immediately the guy instead pulls a gun on Mal.
Yeah, and Mal's like, I'm not going to die. So the guy shoots him. He's like, sorry, I'm a crap shot. I'm going to have to shoot you a few more times until you're dead. So River tackles him.
Yeah, because conveniently River stayed behind, even though nobody knew that she did.
Psychic, I assume. That's my explanation for why River's there. I think it's a fine one. And River asked Mal what his plan was. He's like, I was going to talk to him. She's like, he was going to shoot you more. So I'm going to talk more then.
She goes, that's a terrible plan. I'm with River on that.
Yeah, it's a bad plan. Everyone returns. Jane laughs at Mal for getting shot. Simon's concerned that River shot Mal. Fair.
Which is my favorite part, actually, of this entire short story.
Yeah, because River took the gun off the guy.
Yeah.
And they all leave, and that's that.
They take his horse, though. Did you mention that?
They do take his horse.
They take the guy's horse.
Except a horse wouldn't work in that ship because it has graded floors.
Yeah, and instead River's just riding the horse inside of Serenity. But what would you do with a horse?
Eat it.
Do they have food for the horse?
Turn it to glue.
No, you can't do either of those things.
Those are your 2 horse options. So that's that short story. Yay.
All done. But now we're going to talk about the real story, which is much more substantive. That was not a word.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we moved on from this. That was nothing. But it was free, depending on who you are.
Wow, so bitter. It was free for you at that time.
I don't remember which one that came out in.
Oh.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. So we start our main story, Leaves on the Wind, which is a full sequel to Serenity, or at least, the first after story. Written by Zach Whedon with art by our old Buffy favorite, Georges Genti.
I was wondering why I didn't bother to look at the name,
Really?
But I didn't get that.
This is familiar.
No, I was like, this is comfortingly familiar.
Our story opens in the future with, the worst thing ever, a panel on a news show.
Okay, but this reminded me very much of that Batman one that I read that time.
Dark Knight Returns? This is
Yes.
what you're thinking of, Dark Knight Returns?
Yes.
Of future news panels?
Yes. Can you see it?
Sure. I can see what you're going with.
Thank you. But anyway, the future news panel is discussing whether or not Miranda is real and what
if Reavers are real, if the government killed all those people.
And what should become of the people who disseminated this information, because evidently the panel doesn't know who did it.
And there are protests, or there are riots. Kind of depends on where you get your news.
Because the resistance has started again.
Not relevant.
What?
Not relevant.
The resistance has started again.
And we cut to space with one of those awkward-looking Alliance ships that shouldn't really fly, just like the towering ones. Literal towers flying in space.
Yeah, vertically, too.
Yeah, no, as a tower would.
I guess. It's just
Ever heard
weird.
of a sideways tower?
Looks like a ship.
Then it would. And we see some government officials discussing what to do about Serenity, and more specifically River.
Yeah, so we figure out pretty quick that the Alliance is not dumb, and they figured out that it was Mal and River and company who disseminated all this information, even though the public doesn't know that.
They're talking to one woman who has a sword on her desk that looks identical to the operatives, so we know that they're connected.
Yeah, it's a big fancy sword.
And they're concerned that River gleaned more secrets when government officials were there, so they're going to have to go and get her.
Obviously. Of course she did. If she could figure out Miranda, then
Yeah, she
probably not a big leap to be like, what else did she figure out?
Yeah.
So we cut over to another group of people who are also looking for Mal, because it turns out that Serenity has vanished.
And Mal has become a folk hero, a legend of sorts,
Kind of like Jane.
but on a grander scale.
Yes.
And less crappy? Yeah, less crappy.
Wow. The fact that was a question.
Yeah.
With a less fun hat, though. So this group of underground resistance people are meeting together, and a girl with blue hair mentions that she is going to go find Mal because that is the only way to bring them all together.
Unify them, if you will.
But finally, they have money, so they can actually go do that.
She goes and finds someone's cousin. This cousin supposedly knows Mal. Maybe they did things together.
Also, she has a little hologram in the desert/snow with her that she's watching this panel on again.
Yeah.
I would
spam
not
panel.
bring that camping with me.
Why?
Do you want to watch a panel while you're camping?
Maybe they live out there. You don't know them. Don't judge them.
No, but I thought the girl was bringing it with her. The camping girl. The blue-haired girl.
B? Her name is B.
I know.
Well, we're going to have to talk about her a lot. We should identify her.
Yeah, but we just didn't identify her name yet in the story.
And then finally, after lots of talking about where is Malcolm Reynolds, with the convenience of narrative storytelling, we find him fine.
And they're just hanging out in the middle of nowhere. But they don't have any food and they don't have any money because they haven't taken a job since
Because they've been
everything.
hiding.
Yeah, makes sense.
Except for that job where a man almost took Serenity and Zoe was pregnant.
Right, that job. Well, whatever.
We see that River has taken over main duties of flying the ship.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, apparently Mal got tired of mostly piloting. It's like, you do it now.
I know. Well, I
Even
mean,
when
he was
that
used to
happened at the
having
end
a
of the
pilot.
movie, I'm like, he's not going to stay there.
We all knew he wasn't going to stay there. He doesn't have the attention span for it.
But Wash's dinosaurs are still all there.
Yeah, River would like them.
Yeah. Mal and Anara are on the ship because Anara stayed. It turns out after everything went down that Anara was decommissioned, and she says it in such a natural way, just reminding the audience with some lovely, clunky exposition. In all fairness, that's the only clunky bit of exposition.
And in all fairness,
It's
I'm not
one
really sure
line.
how else. You have to explain why she's still there.
Yeah.
I get it. But I do like that Anara's clothing has changed rather dramatically. She still looks much more elegant than anybody else on the crew, but she's now wearing pants and a shirt that look much more functional for being a space
If we're going to
pirate.
mention the clothes, I'll just mention the clothes now. We see a lot of repeats from the show and movies, which I like.
I like it too.
These are people that had a limited number of outfits, and we see a lot of repeats, things we've seen before, so I do like that attention to detail in the art. And there is a lot of general attention to detail in this work that I really appreciate. Right down to they're standing outside of Kaylee's room arguing, and she still has all of her little lights up.
Yeah.
And Anara's trying to convince Mal that they need to take a job. He's like, no, we're fine. We have rations. And she's like, shut up and have sex with me.
Okay, so yes, kind of, except they have this
I
conversation.
jumped forward a little.
And the conversation just continues as they go down into Mal's quarters. And all of a sudden, Mal just starts taking off his shirt. And
As you do.
I guess, I mean, it's just it was surprising. I was really glad because they did not continue the will they won't they thing of the show and the movie. And they were just like, they will.
Yeah.
They do.
They're together.
It's fine.
They still bicker a lot like they did before, but, now with the added bonus of sex.
But I love that their relationship doesn't come up in any way as a talking point, as
Yeah.
Anything-
It just is.
yeah, it's not
Time has passed and the natural thing happened.
right. It's not part of the plot. Like that doesn't interact with anything. It's just there.
Then we cut over to Zoe, who is still pregnant, with River just lying with her and they're talking. She's like, where's Simon and Kaylee? And it turns out they're also getting it on.
Like rabbits,
Yeah.
according to Zoe.
And then Zoe
Has a dream.
Yeah, says goodnight to River, and she dreams about Wash. She's upset that she has to be a single mother by herself. And her dream of Wash is Wash getting impaled. So lovely.
Well, first she has a whole conversation with him, and then it morphs into that.
Yeah. So that's horrific.
But, of course she would have nightmares about that. Wouldn't anybody?
Yeah.
But she wakes up to labor pains. So Zoe is having the baby right now on the ship. At first, everybody's in the medical bay, and then she immediately kicks them all out, as one does. Actually, no, she doesn't kick them all out. She kicks out Mal and River and Kaylee.
So, fun little bits here. One, Kaylee's shirt is the Fruity Odie bar, the thing that made River go crazy.
Yes, it totally is.
And then we do get, they don't mention it, but this is 100% intentional, I'm positive. Simon and Inara stay to help deliver the baby because that's what they did in the Heart of Gold episode. So Inara has some experience with this.
Yeah, they both do.
Yeah,
no, I thought exactly the same thing. Because all that Zoe says is everybody out, but she didn't really mean everybody out. Simon and Inara are allowed to stay. And we found out earlier that Jane is no longer on the ship. Did we say that already?
Oh yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, forgot to mention that. Unclear as to why yet.
Yeah, but he's definitely gone because...
And not dead.
River was talking about how she misses everybody.
And then Zoe's like, even Jane, she should be like, nah. Not that guy, just the dead people.
Oh, but it's so sad. They're like, it's so quiet on the ship. Anyway.
And the birth happens, and there's a little baby who Zoe says she's going to name Hoban, like her father.
And then Kaylee goes, that's a really beautiful name.
She's like, nope, it's a stupid name. Her real name's Emma,
Yes.
which I prefer.
Yep.
Simon pulls Mal aside only to say that Zoe has some internal bleeding. There were complications with the birth, and that she's going to die.
Unless she can get to a hospital quickly. And Mal doesn't even hesitate. He immediately redirects River to the nearest hospital.
And River, who I like, River's also had a kind of a change in outfit. She's wearing the flight suits that Wash used to wear.
Yeah, and I also like to... River, we mentioned this a couple times in here, she's no longer quite her same...
She's sane.
Flighty self. Yeah, that she has... healed slightly.
She's not 100% normal, but she's, at least lucid and having conversation and being helpful.
Yeah, she's able to take responsibility for things.
There's no question that she's piloting this and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, River has to say, I'm a leaf on the wind, watch how I soar. Serenity goes away. Soarin', soarin', soarin'. Cutting back to our giant Alliance cruiser, we see a figure in a cloak and a spacesuit.
A red spacesuit.
Maybe don't wear a cloak and a spacesuit. It's like one level of unnecessary.
Okay, but if there were a character to wear both a cloak and a spacesuit, it would be...
Jubal Early.
Because of course it is.
Because he's not dead yet.
No.
And he hasn't lost his weird speech patterns.
Nor his red suit. He has only added a cloak.
That's true. And he says that he is going to bounty hunt Serenity yet again, because it went so well the first time.
Yeah. And the lady with the sword is the one who is hiring him, just as a fun fact. So, cut back to...
We're not really cutting back. Cut new to...
Smash
cut.
Jane, wearing his fancy hat.
He has the hat still.
Who pulled a job, evidently all by himself, where he stole some stuff from some raiders, so he stole from thieves.
And he goes back home to his ma, who we've only seen in letter form before.
Also, she's knitting him a sweater to match the hat, which is charming.
The
and I
same
thought about
color
making you
scheme.
that sweater, too.
It's fine. I don't need that.
You don't want that sweater?
I don't want that sweater in my life.
Oh. Wash's sweater comes up in this one somewhere.
It does, yeah. But no, it's that very garish orange and yellow in a striped pattern. And who's saying there but B, our new brown coat? She's like, I need you to help me find Malcolm Reynolds. He's like, nope. And then they show him a bunch of money. He's like, all right. But it does say a line, which comes up a lot in pop culture, but it's one that I can't not think of Rocky 2 with.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Mickey says fur more than four, but yeah. It's right after Adrian comes out of the coma. She's like, do one thing for me. He goes, win. And then the music comes in, and Mickey's like there for, because Mickey's there. He's like, well, what are we waiting for? And then...
You scared the dog with your Mickey impression?
Then they go into a montage.
Rocky went into a montage?
I think there's only 2 in that movie, so, not bad.
No, not bad at all.
By Rocky standards.
Oy vey.
Into issue 2, we see Jubal Early talking with his, I don't know.
Employer, I guess?
Yeah, sure. We'll call him that. And they're like, how are you going to find him? He's like, I don't know. Someone else will do it. I'm just going to hunt them. He's really a barnacle.
Yeah, and also, that didn't really make sense. But I guess nothing he says makes sense, so it's fine. So, Jane is on the ship with Bee and her crew.
About 12 of them.
Yeah, and he keeps trying different places that he thinks Mal might be.
And they keep failing and failing and failing. He's like, he has a few favorites. We'll find him eventually. Still wearing the fun hat, but now the ear flaps are tied up, so it looks even dumber.
Yep. And Bee pulls a gun on him, and she's like, you better not be just dragging me around space for nothing.
And says that he's just a drain on her whiskey.
I thought of you. That you would be equally offended if somebody was a drain on whiskey.
Oh, I thought so that I would be a drain on someone's whiskey.
No, I didn't think that.
If you're offering.
I thought that you would be offended as well if somebody just was sitting there drinking whiskey, not being productive.
Especially if it was mine.
Right.
We do a lot of jumping around in this. I didn't quite realize that till we started talking this all
I
out.
didn't either. It flows nicer than I think we are making it sound.
Yeah, it does. I don't really notice. It's paced very well. We see Zoe with the baby as they go up to a medical cruiser. They get on board and they are immediately identified as criminals, but the doctors help Zoe and save her life.
Yeah, so the doctor saves Zoe's life, and Mal has to make the choice to leave Zoe behind, because otherwise she's going to die.
Yeah, if Zoe goes, she dies, but if they stay, they all get captured, including Emma, and Zoe can't have that. So Mal abandons Zoe for the first time since they met.
To save her baby, basically.
And
It is
we see-
heartbreaking.
and Zoe cries. Even after Wash died, we didn't see Zoe cry.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've ever seen her shed tears.
We saw her shed tears earlier in the first issue.
Well, again, about the baby, and I guess that was
Wash.
about Wash. You know what? You're right.
But you know
Second time.
But, I mean, it's the whole thing. She has some hormones happening.
Chicks, right?
Wow. You're all done now.
Mal isn't exactly happy about this, and then also goes to drain some whiskey.
But probably his own.
Yeah.
We don't really know, to be fair. And so River comes up with a plan, and she says,
But there are more girls like her, but she can't remember the where and the how or any of that, so she needs to be put into a medically induced coma so she can go deep into her brain and try and find the answers.
and Simon is very skeptical of this, as one would be.
He's like, we just got you back, you're finally normal. So River takes a knife, tosses it into the air, does a flip and kicks the knife into a wall. She's like, yeah, I'm not normal.
Imagine if she cut her foot that way.
I think she knew what she was doing.
Maybe. Anyway, so Simon agrees to put her in the medically induced coma. They also strap her down onto the table, so
Just in case she goes crazy again.
yeah, when she comes back to life, she's not going to start by, didn't she like punch Jane or something?
She knocked out Jane with peaches and punched Simon in the throat.
Right.
Compared to that time she grabbed Jane by the balls and hit him with a tray, like 10 minutes before that.
Poor Jane.
And killed a bunch of people.
Well, it happens. Meanwhile, we're bebopping through space. Mine is Zoe at this point, but we're trying to come up with a good plan to find her when all of a sudden a ship latches onto Serenity.
And it's Jane.
Yeah! Jane's like, I'm back, guys. Did you miss me?
And I was like, no.
He's like, who's that girl with you? Because literally I don't trust anybody. Get off my ship this instant.
Yeah, and his whole thing is, how many people do you have with you? She's like, I don't know, 12? He's like, cool, so at least one of them blabbed you were followed. She's like, no, we weren't. And then her ship explodes because Jubal Early went on it and blew it up.
Yeah, not great. Not great.
They immediately have to run away again. Mal isn't super thrilled that Jane has to be there.
Yes, but they also don't know that Jubal Early was the one that blew up the ship.
No, that's a mystery still.
So Jubal Early has actually snuck onto Serenity. Surprise, surprise. Meanwhile, Zoe has been captured in the hospital.
And meets a man named Rogers.
And Rogers is associated with the lady with the fancy sword who...
We'll learn more about her
sent...
next time.
Yeah, who sent Jubal Early to Serenity. And so Rogers is like, he doesn't even give Zoe a chance to really be interrogated. He's like, you're never going to give this up. So because you're so stubborn, you'll never see your daughter again. I'm going to send you to a prison colony in the middle of nowhere that has never been named. It has never been plotted. You will never be found. You will die there.
And you're gonna die.
But she's going to be healed first so that she can die.
Yeah, helpful.
But real, like, that is what really happens.
Jane is sitting in the cargo bay and Mal approaches up going, so, what'd they pay you? And Jane's like, they gave me a lot of money. Can I help save Zoe? And Mal's like, no, you're kind of a dickhead, and every time someone offers you money, that's just what you do. You think after everything we've been through, you'd have some loyalty. So as soon as I can get rid of you, I am. And Jane is sad.
So Mal goes to bed.
Simon and Kaylee are in bed with the baby there. Note that for like 3 pages from now.
Yeah.
The baby has transporting powers.
Well, good for the baby. It needs something.
Jane is sad by himself. Mal goes to bed. River's in a coma, only for Jubal Early to stand over her face.
It's really creepy, actually.
Yeah, just talking nonsense and doing the whole, like, does that seem right to you?
And the answer is no. None of that seems right to me.
You're not right, Jubal.
So we get a little glimpse inside of River's head starting issue 3. And we see kind of her memories of leaving Simon the first time and getting sent to this facility, and she's playing with a girl, and then all of a sudden the girl turns around and half her head is missing.
They all look like zombies, but you can see that they've all had these surgeries done to their brains, like all their skulls have been shaved and cracked open. And River runs away with Simon, but she can't quite grab the weird zombie girls.
She's screaming in her coma. Simon rushes in to see how she's doing.
Only to be knocked out immediately by Jubal Early. None of this, you're going to help me find stuff. He's like, nope.
Yep, so Jubal Early knocks him out.
Kaylee sees it, runs away. Fair, because of that whole I'm going to rape you thing.
Yep, the baby is now with Inara.
Yeah.
Maybe Simon brought the baby to Inara.
Sure.
when he was checking on River. That's what happened.
There you go. Or teleporting powers.
I like my version.
Mal and Anar are continuing to have the conversation about, like, hey, can we survive? Mal's like, I have rations in your shuttle. And she's like, what I like about this is they start talking, and Anar is like, hey, you don't have to be, like, badass, like, captain when you're around me. Like, if we're fucked, tell me we're fucked, and we'll figure it out.
She does not use any of those words. Not one of them, except for captain.
Mal goes to find all this stuff and is immediately knocked out. That's just what everyone's doing.
Fuck is what the actual onomatopoeia is.
Yeah, he gets hit with the butt of a gun.
B is chatting with Jane
about how is she going to talk Mal into this, and he's like, play with his conscience. He's likes to be all gruff, but he's, apparently good.
Jane goes back to his little cot thing, and
what's so strange is that Jane goes to his room.
Yes.
Why would he still have stuff there?
I don't know.
He just goes to his room.
He goes to his room
instead of having to go to, like, the guest quarters. He just goes to his room.
I guess it's empty, though. It's not like they picked up anybody.
Yeah, but still, I just thought it was a little strange.
And
just to assume, but, I mean, it's not like they would have gotten rid of the bed. The bed's still there.
Right, and Jubal early locks him in, which, after he locked everybody in their rooms last time, you'd think that they would have come up with a better system so that they can't be locked in their rooms.
What I do like is that then he goes to the galley and B is there. She's like, oh, hey, what's your job on the ship? Because she doesn't know that he's an evil bounty hunter.
I know, I really enjoyed that, too. And he was like, it's more of a passion.
Because he's a big old creep. He ties everyone up, puts them all together.
And has the creepiest face.
Yeah, he's just trying to remember. He's like, where's the shepherd? Mel's like, dead. He's like, what about the pilot? Dead. He's like, wasn't there another girl? And hey, there was another girl. It was the mechanic. And Kaylee hits him with a big wrench.
Whack!
Beat him in the head. I love that because the whack, we saw this in some of the Buffy stuff, especially in season 9 of, like, if there was a big hit that's like crack or something, it would have cracks running through it. We could see this whack has cracks running through it. So the implication is this is...
Can you say that sentence again? Because it was funny. The whack has cracks running through it.
Yeah, so this is bone shattering.
Yes. And it clearly knocks him out. Jubal early wakes up and he is tied to a chair.
Not just tied, he is, like, chained and duct taped. He's not going anywhere.
And Kaylee dumps out a whole bunch of mechanic equipment in front of him.
And she gives the exact same speech that Jubal gave to her, except she does it with needle nose pliers right next to his eye.
Good. Good for Kaylee.
Yeah. The implication changes from rape to I'm just going to pick you apart one piece at a time.
Yes. Yes, it does. And
he
that's
poops
okay.
His pants.
Yes.
I love that he poops himself. Like, hardcore bounty hunters like, I pooped.
He might have peed his pants.
I think he pooped. Since Jubal early is tied up, everyone goes to the galley to discuss River's weird coma dreams.
Also, they don't discuss Jubal early at all. I mean, I'm assuming that they had that conversation before we got to the galley, but it is kind of funny that they're just like, yeah,
there's a bounty hunter tied up.
We're not going to worry about it.
River remembers that there were other girls like her, even though she already kind of remembered that.
Yeah, I guess she didn't think, I don't know. So River's new thing is she's like, look, we need more help to get Zoe out of wherever she is. Imagine if there were 10 of me.
A little army of Rivers. And Jane brings up a good question. So which version?
Yeah.
It's fair.
It is fair.
River shoots him such a look. That's such a great face.
I know. And then he just goes, no offense.
We don't really see how the conversation ends. I guess Mal is like, I'm going to think on it, as he usually does. And he goes to the cockpit to fly, and he's just sitting there with Inara. And they're all coupley, and it's nice.
Just like how Wash and Zoe used to sit. That's so sad.
And Inara just flat out kind of lays everything out. She's like, we have Jane. Zoe's gone. There's you. But we need more fighters. River's unreliable. And Mal says that he has some help in mind.
Yes.
And we don't know that many people left that aren't dead. So short list.
We cut back to Zoe, who's on a prison transport. And we see the new prison that she's in. It's a desert, and she
no
has
walls,
a roommate.
It's just, yeah, they're in little almost huts, but
it feels kind of like that Batman movie with Bane.
Okay, so it all comes back to Batman for you in this.
I guess so. But
Well,
can't you see that?
Yeah, so, I mean,
I don't remember what that prison's called.
I forget what the movie version was. I mean, it's down in Mexico in the books. It wasn't in Mexico in the movie.
No.
But yeah, so they're just in a prison with no walls because everything outside of the prison is just miles and miles and miles of desert, and they'll die. And if they run, they'll just get sniped off. And if they're not sniped, they'll just die of heat.
Yeah. And Zoe's like, it's okay. My friends are coming.
And they're all like, haha, sure you have friends. She's like, yeah.
I actually do. And they're coming. We cut back to Mal, who's like climbing in the snow to a temple somewhere.
I don't think it's a temple. I just think it's a house.
Okay. But it's like up a weird winding staircase in the snow.
It took some effort to get there. And he is very formally greeted by someone who isn't even looking at him.
Who refers to him as Malcolm.
Hello, Malcolm. Have you come to kill me?
Who would that be? But the operative.
Yeah. Mal's like, no, I need your help. He's like, okay, cool. Let's
Yeah.
do it together, buddy, you and me.
How did Mal know where to find him?
Who knows?
That's like a real life question for me, though.
I'm not that worried about it. I like that a little bit of time, like, it took some effort for Mal to get there because he's grown a little bit of stubble.
For you, that'd be like 3 hours.
Yeah. Mal brings the operative back to Serenity, and no one is happy about it. Like, we just opened to a page, like, cutting from shot to shot of all the crew, and they were just silent and pissed.
Yeah. But you know what I really like about this? Is that you can find, we see Emma on this page too. You can find Emma all over the place in this book, as you should, right? The whole point is Emma, but I feel like in a lot of TV shows, the baby would be not in camera.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but it's a baby that you just can't, like, she's literally a newborn. You can't just leave her.
Mal then goes to fly away, and Jane's like, hey, can I have a word? He's like, what? He's like, so I want to kill him. And Mal's like, I already fought him. You don't want to do that. He's like, but I can win. And Mal's like, what if I want to kill him? He's like, then we get to draw straws.
It's a very Jane conversation.
Yeah.
In a charming way.
And he's wearing a shirt from the show. He is.
He is, yeah.
And they fly off this planet. And Mal asks Kaylee to drop the trash.
And out drops Jubal Early.
Yeah, they open up the bay, and Jubal Early, still chained up, falls, presumably to his death.
Bye, Jubal. So, back in the galley, we're talking about our plans with the operative. And the operative's like, okay, so the good part is that me and Simon and River are all very familiar with this facility. The bad part is that I redesigned all of the security so we can't get in, really.
Which I have a little bit of trouble believing, just because, like, oh, I redesigned the security. Except when he went to the facility, everyone was very surprised about who he was. Like, who's this guy?
Yes,
Whatever.
that's true.
Minor. Doesn't really matter. Maybe he did it from afar.
Yeah.
He also went there and killed everyone, so he's at least familiar with the facility.
I believe that part.
They can't get Serenity close there because Serenity is a known entity, so they're going to have to get a ship. B mentions that the new Resistance, as they're called, has money and they can get Mal a ship.
He's skeptical of this, but he's like,
It's like, why would they give you that? Then she gets real sassy. She's like, they're still under the impression you're some kind of hero.
I know, she does get real sassy.
I like B, and this is something we discussed a lot in the Buffy comics, how hard it is to get characters that feel natural and fit into the world. I buy B 100%.
B does feel natural, and the fact that all of her 12 crewmates were killed off immediately feels very canon foddery. Like, oh, the only 2 named people on the ship go on to Serenity? What's going to happen to all the unnamed crew? Oh, wait, they all die. But I do like B a lot.
Yeah.
They do a good job of not forcing her into the story in awkward ways to be like, and then B saved them all.
Yeah, her inclusion is very natural. Kaylee and Anar are talking, which, you know, is a nice step up from Serenity when they didn't at all.
Right.
And Kaylee, kind of being the voice of, or at least the heart of everything, is very upset that the operative's there at all. She's like, he ordered our friends to be killed. He shouldn't be here. But Anar says that things have changed and they need him, which is true. Dark, but true.
Yep.
They go to another planet where the new Resistance is, and B's like, I have someone special for you. It's an old Malcolm Reynolds. So they're going to give him a ship because he's Mal.
Yeah. So we come back to Zoe just to check in on her, and she is beating up everybody in the prison yard, as Zoe would. So good for Zoe.
Only the mean people.
Well, yeah. So Zoe is being Zoe.
And very much in a, hey, it's a Buffy finale kind of way. They explain the plan off panel, and we're going to get back to it later.
Yeah.
It's such a Buffy finale.
It really is, yeah.
We're going to make a plan, but we're not going to show it to you until it's relevant later.
Good job bringing Buffy into the show.
Yeah, whatever. It's true, though.
It is, yeah.
And then we do get something. There's a whole page explaining this later on. I don't think anyone reading it needed it.
The button.
Yeah.
I didn't need it. I was more confused as to why the explanation was there than anything. I think it's important for the writer to figure out what the button did and how to make the button work, but we didn't need to see it.
So we see B and Jane and River and the operative and Mal all go off on a shuttle, and Mal is handed a big ol' red button. We've seen this button before. But just in case you've forgotten, there's a whole page explaining that the button will call Serenity.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we have a Wash flashback, and he gets to be in that fun sweater.
Yeah, I mean, I liked having the Wash flashback. I just was more confused as to why we needed the page of explanation of the button.
Yeah, this is one of those things we've said for the Buffy stuff as well. You're not picking up new readers.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, some people complain about that. It's like, this has that new reader front. I'm like, deal with it. Not everything's for you.
Well, the other thing, too, is if you knew that this property existed in many other formats, forms. Why would you start here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They all fly off to the training facility, noting that no one's there. And then, Akbar style, it's a trap, according to the operative. Hey, he's right too.
Yeah, he's right.
He was wearing a fun beard before, and now he's back in his regular old operative clothes. Forgot to mention his fun beard. And he makes his stand. He's like, go, I'll hold them off. Get in there.
So, yeah, the people who set the trap are Rogers and the other lady, shockingly.
And another operative. And then we get the return of Vera, baby.
Yeah, with another great onomatopoeia of boom, but boom is also illuminated like it is a gunshot, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, like you get the kind of muzzle flash. So good job on the coloring as well. That was something I missed from the movie, that Jane had a couple of really big guns, but none of them were Vera.
Yeah.
That was always a disappointment for me, so I'm so glad I got to come back in this form.
Yeah, and I like that she's named.
They blow the door down to find a scientist who's just like, hey, River.
He's like, River, you were always my favorite, River. You weren't done when you left, though.
So here's a bit of an oddity for me. The operative is going to fight another operative, but when we first meet him, like, this whole thing is like, I see no listing of name or rank. He's like, I have neither. But in this, he goes right up to another operative. He's like, Denon.
Well, maybe Denon still has a name and a rank, but our operative doesn't.
And they're going to sword fight.
With their fancy swords.
Yeah, and the operative just says that he chose a different path. And they run at each other, sword style. We go back inside the facility, and the scientist does not care. He's just like, oh, hey, you're back. You were always my favorite. But, you know, we did have other girls, and they got to be something you weren't. Completed.
And it's terrifying.
Yeah, and, you know, real horror movie style. This girl comes out of, like, a cryo chamber. She has all those crazy surgery scars that we saw in River's coma fantasy, and she just says, run. But real quiet, like.
Yeah, and River has a very bad look on her face.
As you would, if you saw a crazy murder scarred person.
So anyway, crazy murder girl starts throwing knives at people.
Tackles River, picks up a knife, throws it in Mal's throat. So bad.
Bad for Mal, yeah.
Breaks Jane's arm.
Evidently not the carotid artery, though, because
Yeah.
he's not dead yet.
Also punches Mal in his nose, breaking it.
Yeah, she breaks a lot of bones very quickly.
That is not a nose you want broken.
Mal's?
He has a big nose. It's fine.
Does he have a button nose?
I hear those are the most masculine.
They are.
And then now that Mal has been knocked unconscious, we get the plan.
So we find out that while they were getting the ship, they also organized the new resistance to come and help them out when they needed it.
When Mal hits the button, Serenity will come to their location and drop off all these new fighters.
But Mal was like, I led a lot of young people to their deaths, and so I only want volunteers. And if you look, when we eventually cut back, most of the people who'd come out of the ship are decidedly older than 20s.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was very charming on many levels, but I like the attention to detail.
Mal wakes up from being stabbed and knocked unconscious, only to hit the button. The operative is still outside fighting, and the two of them run at each other. Real samurai movie style, like they both cut their swords at each other, run past, so we get the moment of waiting. And Denon, the other operative, his head is cut in half and it falls off.
Yeah, the top of his head comes off.
The sharp sword.
It is no good.
And we do get the old callback, and the operative just goes, that was not a good death.
It was very gross, but instead, other crazy lady with the other sword comes out, right as B is congratulating the operative, and she's like...
She doesn't really congratulate him. She just says, come fight with us.
Okay, so she's not really congratulating him, but she's like excited that he won.
And we see the unnamed woman as of yet who had the operative sword before. And he sees him and he just says, lay down your arms. She's better than me. If we surrender, we might live.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, all we've seen this guy do is throw down and win basically every fight without ease. The only reason Mal even won the last time they fought was...
He kind of cheated.
A little bit.
He cheats every time.
He didn't really cheat. He just already been shot there.
Yes, that's true.
Or I guess it was shrapnel, but close enough.
You know.
A projectile got him. Through a random drug, we're not really sure what it is. Some kind of knockout drug. Mal fills up a syringe, throws it to River, and she is able to stab her assailant in the chest and knocks her out.
Meanwhile, other operative lady is just about to get our operative to commit suicide.
Yeah. Whatever you call it. I'm not sure. Like seppuku? Is that how you pronounce it?
I can't ever remember. But by falling on his own sword, that's
yeah,
quite literally how he's going to commit suicide. But right at that exact moment...
But what's strange is they have him stand up to kill himself. Don't you usually do that from a sitting position? Isn't it like into the middle and then out to the side?
I don't know, but I do know, I mean, if you think back to the movie, he kept having people fall.
Oh, yeah.
On...
that's right.
So I think he's falling on his sword.
That's right. Good call.
Yeah.
There you go. You fixed it for me.
You're welcome.
And Serenity arrives just in time, only for the browncoats to all come running out and to start shooting.
But if you look, this is the scene where they're older. There's a lot of gray hair in there.
And some bald men.
In a good way. Like Mal was like, I don't want to lead young people to their deaths. And so the old people signed up.
Oh, just whoever was there, really.
Yeah, but I don't know.
They don't quite win the day, but they at least get enough time to run away.
Yes, and they've also taken the crazy girl with them.
Yeah.
The one with the sword, the one who was attacking everybody, the one that River could have become.
And the one that River wants to save. They also grab Rogers and fly away.
And they tie him up, just for good measure.
They also tie up the other girl.
Well, yeah, that's both good calls.
I like how Jane is now a drain on someone else's whiskey, is drinking whiskey, getting his arm patched up by Simon. He's just this tough broad. But then we get kind of a creepy reveal that Rogers is the one who is behind the new resistance, that he's been the one organizing them because they're easier to flush out if he kind of knows where they all are.
Right. If he feeds them money, then they will come out of their hiding holes to come get the money.
And they can just kill them all easily that way.
And so they did. And he gave the order hours ago, and it is too late for anybody to do anything.
So the only thing that's left of the new resistance are the ones that are on the ship. This feels a lot like Last Jedi.
Do you know what it feels like?
No, this is literally the last scene where it's just everyone left is on the Falcon.
Yes, that is also what it feels like. But it reminded me, too, of the Hunger Games. You know when they did the... No, it doesn't feel like the Hunger Games? Or no, you aren't going to remember what I was about to say?
No, I'm not going to. No.
At the very last bit, and the books, I don't know what happened in the movies, they devised this plan where they're going to drop down medical supplies so that all of the medical personnel will rush in to help the dying, but the medical supplies are really bombs.
Ooh, that's dark.
Do you not remember that? Yeah, that's why I remember it. It's because it's so dark. And that's what it feels like here.
So, all the resistance is dead except for what's on Serenity, but they still need to find Zoe. And Roger says, I'll never talk. And Mal's like, that's fine. We got a psychic.
I know.
Which I like.
It's really fantastic. And I also really like that he's so tied up and he can't do anything about this psychic thing. And it's lovely.
So all they do is they just point at different planets until eventually River's like, yep, that's the one.
And then they go there. It's really great. Meanwhile, our girl wakes up. She gets again shot with a tranquilizer.
Because she's screaming and crazy.
And Simon's like, I don't know if we can do anything to help her. But River's like, you have to, Simon. You're top of the class.
I love that callback.
I know. Also, I understand.
Call back.
I understand Simon. She's like, I have to if I'm the top of the class.
You would understand that, wouldn't you?
I entirely do. Today I looked and I have a 4.0 and I was so happy.
So now they know where Zoe is. They need to devise a plan.
Which is not really that complicated of a plan.
No, not overly. Say Jane's out of commission. Jane is, meanwhile, swinging whiskey. He's like, I can still shoot.
Yeah, because his arm is very broken. Very broken.
Mal says that Zoe's going to need to know that they're coming because they can't just drop it in the middle of this prison camp. And Kayla says that she can come up with a way to do it. Mal then storms out. He's like, good. Just, whenever they have a plan, he just seems to walk out.
Yeah. And B is like, hey, you got me too. Like, take me with you.
I do like that this feels, in both versions of Serenity, both the pilot and the movie, this feels more like that version of Mal. Not like it was the one that was kind of lightened up for Executives Mal.
Okay, but also, you think about everything that happened in Serenity, you would have the darker Mal.
Yeah.
Mal is not going to be lighthearted and, doing these fun train jobs and fun everything, because nothing's fun and everybody's dead. And also, everybody's dead again.
Yeah, he just had people die because of him, which isn't his favorite thing.
But also, it's not even really him because we find out that the Alliance guy had been feeding money all along.
Yeah.
So it's like he was the catalyst, but they were all going to die with or without him.
Mal said he's not going to bring B along, but she's like, hey, my father fought with you in Serenity Valley, and the only reason he did is because he thought that you could win this war, and I think it too. Mal finds out who her father was, and then just says, all right. And he walks away, doesn't really dwell on it, but she gets a good smile out of it.
I know. It's very sweet. She's actually taking it very well that all of her resistance died, literally.
Yeah. Zoe's in her prison camp, all bruised and bloody from all of her prison fights.
And she hears a vroom!
And everyone's really confused. They all run and look out. They're like, what was that? And Zoe just says it's a firefly as we see something just streaking across the sky.
And she goes...
like the bug.
Sprinting out into the distance.
This must be later on, though, because it went from night to day in the course of a page.
Well, no. Remember how dark it is in the little huts?
She's still looking out into the night sky.
Oh, I guess you're right. So anyway.
She walks to the edge of the prison camp and then just starts to book it.
And while everybody realizes that she's running away,
they're like, whatever, it's fine. She's just going to die. And then they use their binoculars to see the mule piloted by the operative Mal and Beer coming.
And they get very upset. They chase everybody.
They're about to shoot the mule, and then it turns out Jane has a sniper rifle, and he's just using his cast to steady it.
I know. I enjoyed that, because he would.
Another guard is about to shoot Zoe down, and her cellmate, who's like, you don't have friends, just bashes his head in with a rock. She's like, she has friends, and I have a rock.
Also, her cellmate is missing an eye. We never really discussed that.
Doesn't matter.
Another guy was missing an eye, too. Lots of missing eyes in the prison camp.
They all get on their little hover bikes and start chasing down Zoe. The mule gets there first. Everyone's just starts shooting. And there's not, it is what it is. They're all just shooting away. It's very clear what's happening. But then they fly onto Serenity, much like they did in that movie, Serenity.
Yes, and they throw Rogers back out into the prison camp, again, dropping people.
This is the thing that Mal does, where he just doesn't kill his enemy.
He just
maybe start.
Leaves them to die.
And they all get away and presumably pick up Jane somehow.
Yes.
Unclear.
The first thing that Zoe says is, where is she? And Zoe cries again. Very cryy.
Yeah. They land on a very lush planet, and Mal has a very similar conversation with the operative that he did at the end of Serenity, asking if the Alliance is going to come after them. And once again, he's like, probably not, but, it'll probably be a guy who does it anyway.
And so Mal watches the operative walk into the distance of this planet.
But they shake hands. They kind of part on okay terms.
They do. They part on, I wouldn't say okay terms, but on
enough to shake
mutually
his hand.
Respected terms.
Well, compared to the end of Serenity's, like to kill myself if I ever see you again.
Yes.
And now they're shaking hands, so yeah. We go back to the medical bay to see that this girl has woken up with all the scars. Simon has done some work where she's a little cleared up. She says she remembers everything, and also that her name is Iris.
Yeah, and that they offer to let her stay on Serenity, but she's like, I have been a prisoner for too long, and I really just want to be out in the open.
And Inara says, I have some old clothes here. She gives her like an old dress and some wigs, because apparently Inara had wigs.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
If anybody on that ship was going to have wigs, it would be Inara.
But everyone is there except for Zoe, and Zoe just is talking with Emma. She's like, I'll be right back, and sneaks out. And then this is my personal favorite bit of the whole book.
You showed me this a long, long time ago.
Probably wouldn't happen because I thought it was so awesome. It's so Western. We even get like these wide angle shots. The operative is walking in the woods. Beautiful coloring in here.
I was going to say the lighting changed in this. So everything has been very crisp, but here it becomes very watercolory in a good way.
Yeah, he's kind of walking on a path, lights coming through the branches, and Zoe comes up behind him. Might as well just do this bit because it's so damn good.
Yeah. That baby's father died running from you and yours. Don't much matter if you help save me. That's a debt can't be repaid.
No, it cannot. And then Zoe just tosses him a pistol, and this is like the widest angle you could have if you were shooting it with a lens. He goes to pick up the gun and just says, I will defend myself.
I'm counting on it.
He picks up the gun, camera pulls out, and we don't see it, and it's so awesome.
Yeah. So you flip the page and
Zoe is just walking back on Serenity.
Yeah.
He is super dead, and I am so happy it's Zoe that did it.
And I also really like that I don't know, I liked everything about it. I liked that they didn't just gloss over everything that he did in Serenity because he helped him in this. And I also like that the operative understands all of the pieces as well. Like, he doesn't...
Yeah.
There's no...
Here's my question
complaining.
For you. Or actually, I'm going to say it, and then let's see if you disagree. Mal knew that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, I could live with that.
I think that's the only reason Mal didn't kill him.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I mean, they don't have a conversation about it. Zoe just comes back, and they just start chatting.
Yep.
Mal offers Zoe a chance to leave, and she's like, no, this is where my home is, and this is where Emma's family is going to be. And they go back on the ship. The only thing close to talking about the operative is Mal asks if Zoe's all right, and she just says, get in there, sir. Which is still, we're getting mirrors of the end of Serenity, of, things she'll hold together and all that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Mal knew.
Going back to the cockpit, Mal and Anar are standing there together, coupley, touching each other and whatnot. And Anar asks where they're going to go, and Mal just says, same as ever. Wherever, Sky takes us. Ask Kaylee to fire up the engines, and then Kaylee's kind of slow on the uptake because she's busy having sex with Simon.
Again.
And they fly off into the sunset.
With a leaf floating.
Yeah, there is a leaf on the wind, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
That might be intentional.
So we cut back.
To a coda.
Yes.
And unknown operative lady goes to a cabin in the woods where a creepy old man has the mangled body of Jubal Early, who's still alive.
How is he still alive? And so she puts him on a ship and puts him in like a
stasis-y
cryo chamber thing.
I mean, he is scarred and messed up. He is not looking
His
pretty.
foot is at a real bad angle.
He also might be missing an eye, or it's just closed shut. Unclear.
Everything looks bad.
And she's like, yeah, just so we're clear, I hired you for a job and you didn't complete it. He's like, I failed a lot. She says next time he'll have help. And we just see a line of tubes of girls that looked like Iris. And speaking of wigs, this girl then pulls off her own wig to reveal that she was part of the same program.
Dun, dun, dun. And that's the end.
And then her inner monologue says, no power in the verse can stop us. To be continued, but not to be completed. Don't expect an ending next time.
No. So
This is damn near next to perfect.
I was going to say, this is way better than anything we've read so far for Serenity. And not that anything's been bad for Serenity. It's just...
This is what we needed. We needed to move forward. And I like this format.
Yeah.
Compared to doing a season, because quite frankly, we never got one.
No.
We don't know what a season of Firefly looks like. So the idea of just telling a mini, I think, is the way to go.
Well, and also the idea, too, that Firefly's crew is all broken up and all over the place. And
Dead.
how can you have another season without those characters around?
And we need to see the aftermath of what happened, because that wasn't just a thing they can move on from.
No.
I like them doing these minis. My only real complaint is they're pretty spaced out. Like, they'll go a couple of years in between doing a miniseries, and the last one ended, we'll talk about it next time, 2 years ago now, and it's not an ending.
But here's my thing, too. I'd rather have them take their time and do really awesome things like this instead of just pumping out a story to pump out a story.
Well, it doesn't, like, if I was going to say, like, could you adapt this into a movie? My inclination would be say no. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like the show either. It feels like its own thing. This is something only you could do in a comic.
Yeah, in a good way. Like, you don't want to change it.
It's perfect. Honestly, this is next to perfect. There's a couple small things that I nitpicked, but overall, this is about as good as you're going to get for what you want to see.
And also, honestly, like, you could pick up this story if you've just watched the show and watched the movie, and you could pick up this story and continue forward, and you wouldn't miss anything. And it feels very satisfying. Like, you don't have an ending, but it feels satisfying, like you've had the next chapter of Serenity.
I think this book in particular has accomplished the continuous feel better than Buffy or Angel did in any form.
I agree.
You don't feel the difference of, like, oh, we don't have a budget. Oh, like, how do we fit this, like, all the cast in there? Like, with the Buffy stuff, like, characters kind of come and go, and they don't really need to worry about contracts, and things get big, and things don't necessarily feel like a season of television. But with Firefly, we never really had a concise feel of what it's supposed to be anyway, because it was always so short-lived. This tonally fits in, I think, better than anything we've done so far.
And the thing, too, about Buffy that we've talked about is a lot of the relationships haven't grown or changed at all since Buffy turned into the comics.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Dawn and Xander, that's the big one. But Buffy is still going back and forth between Spike and Angel.
Yeah.
And this, it's really nice that we didn't worry about anybody's romantic relationships in this. They were a part of it.
Yeah, and I totally buy that, like, this is supposed to be, like, 8 months later, that within those 8 months, that if you're alone with these people after this horrific thing, and you were already building up to it, yeah, get together.
Yeah, and it makes sense as well that they're not squabbling. There's no, their relationships are on the verge of falling apart. They're just there. They're just living.
Yeah, I mean, they're squabbling, but not in a, we're gonna break up kind of way. The only thing that I'm kind of curious about seeing is there's still no hint about Inara and her illness.
Right.
And if memory serves, I don't think the next one tackles it either, but I'm waiting for that storyline to get picked up.
That'll be heartbreaking.
I mean, I've been waiting since 2003, so, I got time.
It's only been 15 years.
I'm not in a big rush on that one. It'll get there when it gets there. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we just, I don't know, kind of got caught up in commentating more than reviewing on this one just because it's so good, and I love every minute of it.
I guess too that it doesn't need a lot of reviewing. It stands for itself in the same way that it is Serenity, it is Firefly. It's not, they kind of have the voices, blah blah. They are the characters.
I am curious because with all of these things, like, since Buffy and Angel have ended and Joss became a little bit less involved with the comic book stuff, they kind of have him listed as, like, executive producer, but this stuff is so tonally close. I'm curious how much of a pass he did on it, because the amount of direct involvement he has, his title never changes, but you'll read things or hear interviews with people, like, it's kind of a fluctuating level of involvement. Like, sometimes it's just a summit, or sometimes he's going over a full script, or sometimes it's just a plot or something along those lines. So I'm curious. I feel like there was probably a touch more on this one because it feels so tonally identical.
Oh, it does in every way.
Yeah. I don't know. I love this book. This is a great book. Highly recommended.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
I love following up on the movie. It's sad it's not going to be in live action, but this is about as good as you could ask.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that the actors are going to start to change and look different at some point. And so at some point you lose the option of doing live action.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But
yeah, I mean, eventually everyone just gets older. I think the one I can point to is, what's his name? Matt LeBlanc talking about like a Friends reunion. He's like, not that interested. He's like, because Joey's not a 20-something. Like, do you really want to see Joey going for a colonoscopy? And that's that same deal. Do you want to see these people like fighting well beyond what would be rational?
yeah, so it's really awesome.
Oh.
You guys should read it.
I don't remember if we've talked about this only in our personal lives or if I brought it up. I don't think I brought it up in the show yet. And the sad thing about how this all ends, I would put money down. Mal has to die. That's how this ends. He can't live. He doesn't get to go have that happy ending.
And I think that everybody gets to have the happy ending, so I refuse to accept that.
He has to be the last gunslinger. He has to be the guy that gets everyone to the promised land and dies before he can get there himself. It's a Western. This is how this ends.
No, that's Moses.
Moses was a Western. They were technically in the desert. Long ass time. This has been 15 years, not 40.
True.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm not super looking forward to it ending. We'll get to it next time, but I would maybe like one more arc after what we do next just to give the story an end and probably kill Mal.
Yeah, let's not actually kill Mal, though.
Yeah, we'll see. But I guess that's it for this week. We'll be back next week to finish up the Serenity books before getting back to Buffy and Angel. But if you're curious about what's happening in Buffy Season 12, patreon.com/editorsnotecomics. We're doing non-spoiler and spoiler reviews right now until the season ends. And you also get this show a whole week early whenever it next happens. Twice in August.
Okay.
Well, it is.
Well, also once more next week.
Oh, yeah, you know what I mean, though. Twice more after the Serenity stuff. If you want to get in touch with us, editorsnotecomics.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or editorsnotecomics@gmail.com.
I think that's it.
That'll about do it. We'll see you next time to finish this up.
Bye.